And make no mistake about it, the Lord directs his church through living prophets and apostles. Too many people think church leaders and members should be perfect or nearly perfect. They forget that the Lord's grace is sufficient to accomplish his work through mortals. Our leaders have the best intentions, but sometimes we make mistakes. Looking for human weakness in others is rather easy. However, we make a serious mistake by noticing only the human nature of one another and then failing to see God's hand working through those he has called.
It takes faith to believe that he calls imperfect people into positions of trust. It takes faith to believe that he knows the people he calls perfectly, both their capacities and their potential, and so makes no mistakes in his calls. It takes even greater faith to believe that the Lord has called imperfect human servants to lead you. The Lord sees his servants perfectly. If you have faith that the Lord leads his church through revelation to those imperfect servants he calls, the Lord will open the windows of heaven to him as he will to you. I try not to judge servants of the Lord or to speak of their apparent weaknesses. We should look past any perceived imperfections, warts, or spots of the men called to preside over us and uphold the office which they hold, close quote. I bear you my solemn and yet joyful witness that the Lord Jesus Christ is at the helm. He leads his church and his servants.
We should not be surprised to know that those individuals called to do the Lord's work are not humanly perfect, striving to do their best, but none of them yet perfect. The same is true of us today. Given the reality of our human weaknesses and shortcomings, how do we move forward? It begins with faith, real, sincere faith in the Lord Jesus Christ.
Sometimes we act as if an honest declaration of doubt is a higher manifestation of moral courage than is an honest declaration of faith. It is not, except in the case of his only perfect begotten Son. Imperfect people are all God has ever had to work with. That must be terribly frustrating to him, but he deals with it. So should we.
Too often we let ourselves be distracted by the imperfections of our fellow members instead of following the example of our Master. We tread a path covered with diamonds, but we can scarcely distinguish them from ordinary pebbles.
Because this is the church of the living Christ, and because he directs his prophets, we are moving forward and upward to places we have never been, to heights we can hardly imagine. And you listen for the guiding word of the Lord and his prophet to lead you to safety. Remember, this is the church of Jesus Christ. He is at the helm.